Today we conclude our look at Numbers 11 and contemplating what quail offered to those in the wilderness and to see how it affected the Lenten journey. So we continue with looking at select verses in Numbers 11. Here first, verses 18 through 20. Tell the people, consecrate yourselves in preparation for tomorrow when you will eat meat. The Lord heard you, and when you wailed, if only we had meat to eat. We were better off in Egypt. Now the Lord will give you meat, and you will eat it. You will not eat it for just 1 day, or 2 days, or 5, 10, or 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils and you loathe it, because you have rejected the Lord who is among you, and have wailed before him, saying, why did we ever leave Egypt? So that's the first portion. We're going to get to that first. But let's look at the conclusion of this chapter, verses 31 through 34. Now wind went out from the Lord and drove quail in from the sea. It brought them down all around the camp to about 3 feet above the ground, as far as a day's walk in any direction. All that day and night and all the next day, the people went out and gathered quail. No one gathered less than 10 omers. Then they spread them out all around the camp. But while the meat was still between their teeth, and before it could be consumed, the anger of the Lord burned against the people, and he struck them with a severe plague. Therefore the place was named Kibroth Hattaavah, because they buried the people who had craved other food. All right, so let's talk about what happened. So they asked, they complained, they wailed, they made themselves known that what they wanted was some actual meat. And again, recalling that somehow it was better in Egypt. In reality, it wasn't, but they claimed that it was, and so they wanted some good meat. So God said, you're going to have it. Not only am I going to just give you a little bit to ease your taste, no, I think you deserve more than just 1 day or 2 days, more than 5 days, more than 10 days, more than 20, a whole month. And God laid out in his intentions. He's like, you're going to get so much of it, you're going to be sick of it. God's also saying, this is how I'm going to answer you. You ask and complain in such a manner, and make me a little frustrated, make Moses frustrated, get him angry at me. Well, here you go. Plenty of meat for you. So it comes. It flies in from the sea. There's so much of it. They spent all this time gathering it. And then right when they're about to eat it, God sends a plague. So not only do they have it, but they get sick off of it. This is where we start. The quail comes, but God says, I'm going to give you so much, you're going to be sick of it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit reminded here. I grew up in a very dry house, and there was one bottle of wine that was bought every year, and that was for the Thanksgiving turkey. We basted that turkey in whatever cheap wine my parents bought. And I remember one year my sister, who was probably in about 8th grade, made one too many jokes about having a glass of wine with her Thanksgiving dinner. Until my parents poured a glass and said, okay, here, and you will drink all of it. And I remember kind of watching her there at the table, and she thought about it for a long time, and then she thought, maybe I don't want to do this, and she poured that glass of wine into a glass of sweet tea and took the first sip and spewed it everywhere. So this kind of puts me in mind of that God says, you're going to have it until you're sick of it. And sick here was literal with God. While the quail was still in their mouths, they get sick. So what's the lesson here? Well, it might be, you might want to make sure that you cook poultry all the way through. No, that's not it. It's that, we're uncomfortable with this. We see a very short-tempered God. But God here, these are the things that they created. That name that they gave it, right? They called it Kibroth Hattaavah, which means Graves of craving. I think they should print that in English because it rhymes. It sounds good, right? Graves of craving. And that's what this is for them. God answers their prayers in a way that they could not imagine.
And it's interesting. Imagine a world for a minute if every time you said, hey, I think I'd really like that, and you prayed to God for it, and you got it. This world could be pretty messed up that way, because I don't know that we're actually meant to have everything that we think we want, or the answers that we come up to the problems that are at hand, the struggles we have. We might come up with a solution. It may not be the best one for us. There might be another way, something we need to learn in the process, something we need to experience and walk through, knowing that God has not left us or abandoned us, but walked with us through all of it. If we got just exactly what we wanted and prayed for each time, it would be pretty messed up. I don't think it would be what we expect, and nor should it be, because I believe that we need someone who has the greater eye looking over all of it. God is looking at everything that we're experiencing in a very different way than we are. And it's not so much like a wish list that we give Santa. It's something very different when we offer our prayers, when we're confronting our problems. Sometimes we have to give it up to God to see and to hopefully have the ears to hear the message, to hear the answer, and to trust God in the direction that God would have us go. But that's not often how we approach it. There might be incredible destruction like we witnessed in this passage if we just got everything we asked and prayed for.
I'm reminded, showed my age, that many, many years ago, there was a huge country star named Garth Brooks. And
No, he's not dead.
he's not dead yet, but he had one of his big early hits said that sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers, that with the benefit of time and experience, I see that what I wanted in that moment wasn't what I needed. It wasn't what was right. It wasn't what I should have had. The process of discipleship, the process of sanctification, which means the process of us being made holy, means that God changes what it is that we crave. God changes what it is that we desire. That God makes what we love into holy things so that we are not sickened. There's another song that we sing at Christmas called Away in a Manger. And if you remember that last stanza, it says, bless all the dear children in thy tender care, and fit us for heaven to live with thee there. What it means to fit us for heaven is to make us the kind of people who would enjoy heaven, rather than the kind of people who would enjoy all the everything that is here on earth. That we would be the kind of people who would enjoy what God has in store for us, that what God has for us in heaven, that God makes us fit for the kingdom. God makes our desires holy. That's what this Lenten journey is about. That's what this desert is. It's not just about our denying ourselves for the sake of it. It's not just about trying to break a bad habit. It's not about impressing anyone with our self-discipline. It's about taking those things which might distract or destroy us and replacing those things with the desires that God wants us to have. Consider that as we are in this place where it's been a month and we desperately want chocolate or desperately want Coke or whatever it is that we've given up, that those desires aren't fundamentally what's going to be fulfilling. That God has something that will be so much more filling, that will not lead to a grave, but will lead to glory.
And if there was something that we agreed to take on, not to give up, but to try to make changes, and we've already seen where man, that was a week ago and I really have not paid attention to it, we still have the opportunity to get back at it. We still have this season. It's a long season. So that season reminds us there's more than one time, more than one chance, more than one opportunity, and there is grace in trying again to see how God can mold and shape us, to see where God can change our hearts, and where we can end up in this wilderness journey.
Thank you.